Loch Arrow is a natural limestone lake, no ordinary lake. Irish limestone lakes, like English chalk streams, have very clear water and a great richness of living things, including wild brown trout and the queen of all trout flies, the mayfly. Mayflies start hatching in the unpredictable weather of late spring here in the northwest of Ireland, though not always in May. After years spent underwater as a nymph, the winged insect splits out of its shock and flies to the shelter of the bushes on the bank. Its days are numbered now, and its sole purpose is reproduction. At this stage in its four-part development, it's known as a dun, green drake, or greenfly. But while it's hatching in the surface film of the lake, it's very vulnerable to attack. There are several ways of catching trout when they're feeding on mayfly. One of the earliest signs that the hatch is starting on the western lakes is the sight of long dapping rods sprouting from the boats. They're using blow lines and the natural insect. But first, catch your natural insects. Paul Cullen's luckier than most because he owns a cottage on an island in the lake, which he and his Springer Spaniel can use as a base for the mayfly hunt.
The flies have been blown in here, right down from Dodds Bay, from the bog banks, which is a very shallow bay, out of Brickeen, and they've all collected on this high hawthorn hedge here in front of the house.
Which is thick with them.
And you'll notice they're on the underside of the leaves, where they're protected from rain or from wind.
I'm just trying to pick the biggest ones.
Today is a perfect dapping day. There's a nice breeze and a bit of cloud cover. I'm out with Albert Fraser, who's been dapping this lake for 50 years. And if he doesn't know all the good spots, nobody does.
Yes, I always do.
Yeah, most people give them 3 or 4 seconds, like.
In dapping, you use a fairly large hook, about size 6 or 8. The best place to put your hook is through the chocolate spot, which is just below the wings, behind the thorax. This, in fact, is the thickest part of the fly's anatomy.
On some lakes, on Loch Reed, they give 7 seconds. Yeah.
That's how I can there for now. That's true. But that's a bit of a high form there. What's that?
The basic idea in dapping is to skate a natural fly on the surface of the water about 20 feet in front of the boat. To enable you to do this, you use a very long rod, 15 to 20 foot long, and you use floss silk or very light line, which will catch the wind and will billow the fly out in front of you.
Yeah.
Get out there.
A lot of people call the mayfly season Duffer's Fortnight and call dapping an all-woman's game. But anyone who has been out with Albert will disagree. The skill is in knowing where the fish are going to feed and being able to manoeuvre your boat well enough to cover them. With these big dapping rods, of course, a fish doesn't stand much of a chance. They're very powerful and they'll subdue a fish in no time.
It's better to be have the boat. But there is an unlucky.
flies in the net. Only barely hooked in the scissors. Lovely fish.
Well, today we're going to have a couple of hours fishing, maybe an afternoon with Mike Tolan. Mike is a great wet fly fisherman, which differs a lot in technique from the dapping. He will fish with 3 flies on a cast, which gives him a better chance of meeting fish at different levels. I'm fishing a dry fly. This gives us a chance to ring all the changes if we meet a few feeding fish. The rod I'm using here for dry fly fishing is actually a 9-foot rod with a slightly fast action. And the fly I'm using is a fly called a grey wolf. It looks anything but like a mayfly when you look at the mayfly. But if you observe a mayfly hatching, you'll notice that the shuck which he's come out of very often is attached to his tail, which gives him a very elongated look. That is when the fly is at his most vulnerable. That's why if you look at a grey wolf, you'll see a long tail sticking back behind. But fish will take him ravenously during the mayfly. For years now, people used the more traditional type mayfly, which was just a yellow or a green hackle with a, say, an ivory-coloured body and tails.
I saw him taking 2 flies. Then I thought I'd gone by him actually. He must have doubled back in his tracks. That's fishing. Well, I got one good run out of him anyway, at least.
Yeah, helps to keep up the interest.
Wet fly fishing is probably the most traditional manner of fishing in the west of Ireland, much more so than the dry fly. Mike is drawing his flies across the foam line where the natural flies will have collected and where feeding fish will concentrate. And on the cast of 3 flies, he'll be fishing with, I would say, a mayfly nymph, and would be a good choice for the bottom fly, and maybe a golden olive or an invicta or something like that, which would represent a hatching mayfly in the middle. And then on the top fly, most people would use a bushy bob fly, which he would bob to the surface. Very often this is actually a dry fly, which is oiled and is just drawn to the surface to make a wake, which would represent a hatching mayfly to a fish, or one just after hatching. And in fact, very, very often, a trout will actually be attracted to the bob fly and will turn around and take one of the other 2 flies. It's a great attract to the bob fly.
I noticed, Michael, you're drawing those wet flies very slowly.
Yes, I like to fish a floating line and oil the top dropper and bob it before I lift it off the water.
Taking them around the back, Mike.
Yeah.
Good job, you have a strong rod for the job.
Oh. Putting a lot of pressure on them. Oh, beauty.
Good man, Mike.
A beauty.
It's very like the fish we caught here the other day, Mike. Same colouring.
Very nice.
I remember, I suppose 4 or 5 years ago, we had very, very calm, sunny weather, and we were having great difficulty getting the fish to take our spent net. When a friend of mine, Barry Cook, came up with the idea of putting on a latex body onto a fly. And we came up with this fly, which we actually call the Copydex Mayfly. It's a simple enough procedure. You just get two or three strands of pheasant tail, or dog hair, anything you want, anything that's stiff to use for a tail. Dip it in the glue, put it on the body, and fold it up along. All during the Mayfly, there's a prize permanently set up on this table here. As one of the great advantages of living actually on the water, as we are here living on this island, is that you're so near the water, so near the boat, and if you feel like tying a fly, you can just come in, walk up 50 yards, and you're in the house, and you're in your laboratory. It's a lovely old house. It's a cottage, really, a small cottage. It belonged originally to a famous family of fishermen called Lytles. They were probably the most famous fishermen ever on this lake. They lived here all their lives, and they all lived to ripe old ages, well into their 90s. One day we're doing a little bit of renovation, and I found Tom Lytle's old fly wallet, which he had shoved into a little nook over the chimney. An amazing thing I found was his very innovative sedge. The sedge is different. He's not like the Mayfly. He hatches late at night and he scurries across the water. Tom had got the idea of actually paring a cork down the same size as the fly and attaching it onto a piece of thread onto a hook, so he never had to oil his fly, didn't worry about it, could never sink, and obviously caught a lot of fish for him. Generally, when I'm making a spent, I use, some people use badger hackle, but usually I blend two hackles together. I take a black hackle and a cream hackle and just wind the two of them on together. When you have them wound on a hook, they're actually in full circle. So what you do is you just split the fibres then into roughly two halves, two bunches, and make a series of figure-8 knots until they actually lie out sideways. This, in fact, on the water then gives the effect of a fly with his wings spread out dead on the water.